Hi there, John Moore here, and I'm a shamanic practitioner and teacher in the state of Maine. And today I want to talk to you about something that's pretty important. And I want this to be a little bit of a public service announcement for those out here. I have a lot of people who contact me. Help, I'm being possessed. Help, I'm being attacked by these deities. Help, my friend has, this specific spirit possessing their body. Um, and I want to be really careful about how I talk about this. But the first thing I want to say is that um, actual possession and attack like that, of that nature, that is very frequently described to me, is pretty rare. Um, Extremely, extraordinarily rare. And I don't want to disbelieve people because your experience is your experience. What you have going on for you is what you have going on for you. Here's the problem: there are many organic issues, problems with the body, problems with the mind that can cause hallucinations, delusional thinking, disturbances in thought. One can hear voices, one can, have all kinds of stuff going on that can seem extremely real. This is a scary thought for some folks, right? Because we want to think that we're perceiving the world absolutely objectively. We don't perceive the world objectively. And when it comes to things like help, I'm being possessed, very frequently I'll have a conversation with somebody and they'll say, well, I was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and I went off my meds last week. And unfortunately, I can't, not to say that I won't work with somebody who has any sort of mental health diagnosis, because I will, but it's unethical for me to work with somebody who is not seeking treatment, medical treatment. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm not a licensed therapist. I can't do that stuff. And so if you were to get whatever situation you have under control, this is not to say if you have these experiences and you're being possessed that that is enough for a diagnosis of any kind. I can't diagnose you anyway. Um, but there can be organic issues. There can be all kinds of things going on with you. There can be, infections. There can be depression can cause psychosis. All kinds of things can be happening. And it's critical to rule those things out at least, or seek treatment for those things before you go to a shaman or go to a spiritual healer. Spiritual healing of any kind is not a replacement for medical attention. So if you think these things are going on with you and you contact me, I'm going to ask you some questions about diagnoses, medication. Have you been seen by a doctor? Are you under the care of a therapist or that sort of thing? It doesn't mean I'm not going to work with you. Um, I especially want you to be taking care of yourself. You have a body, you have a mind, you are a spirit. Let's take care of all of those things together. Um, Very often there is problem with self-diagnosis of any kind, right? Um, I've got a thing on my skin that looks it, I'm gonna look it up on WebMD. Oh no, I've got, melanoma or something, right? This happens a lot. Self-diagnosis, people who've taken a course in abnormal psychology very often look around and see everybody they know as having some diagnosis. And the same is true for any sort of spiritual ailment. It's very hard to self-diagnose. If you are actually having problems with a possessing being, you want to see somebody who's really, really, really experienced with dealing with that situation, not somebody who's read a book or, whatever. and self-diagnosis is a problem. And there could be other things going on that you think are the result of possession as well. Hearing voices does not mean you're possessed necessarily. Okay, in some cases of possession, that isn't even a factor, right? And then there are all kinds of organic things that can cause us to hear voices that sound like they are inside our heads or outside our heads, but they sound very real and they sound very convincing. The problem is we want to trust our reality. We want to trust what we see, what we hear. We want to turn that into a real experience. Um, I think it's healthier to question things. Did I really hear that? Did I really see that? What else could it be? What else could it be? Ask that before you go into I'm being possessed. So if somebody comes to me and I suspect that there is some, mental health diagnosis at the center of what's going on with them, I'm probably going to refer them to some sort of medical professional. And again, not to say I won't work with them, but you're going to have to prove to me that you are taking care of yourself physically and mentally, and then in addition, if you want to see me as a client, we can talk about that and see if that is something that's a good idea for you. Ethics is really, really important in spiritual practice of any kind. There are lots of unethical spiritual practitioners out there. They're not really, people who are faking things or whatever. But for the majority of people I know who are spiritual healers are legitimate and have people's best interest at heart. And so I would rather, if I were going to a shaman, for example, or some other healer and said, "Oh, I have this problem," I would rather somebody say, "Look, I'm not going to see you until you get cleared by a doctor or a therapist or psychiatrist or whatever. I'm not going to see you because that would be unethical. I'm doing something that isn't necessarily going to be helpful for you." This isn't to say that you cannot see a spiritual healer while you're also seeing a doctor, but medical care comes first. At least with me and with my clients. Sometimes I'll work with somebody and I'll see something that is concerning, and I'll say in the middle of a session, and I'll say, "Listen, I saw this. I don't know if this has been bothering you, but I'd like you to ask your doctor about that. I'd like to ask and that is part of me providing the best possible service to clients. It is my goal to be helpful. It's my goal to be healing. It's my goal to give people what's in their best interest and their highest good. Sometimes that is me referring them away to something else. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. Something came up recently where somebody was asking for help or answers to something that again, I don't know the history behind it yet, but I'm gonna refer that person to seek out medical diagnoses first, and then who knows? Then maybe they'll come to me or not. But anyway, I hope you're happy and healthy. I love you all, and I will talk to you real soon.